Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the conclusions for the 944th day, and also for the 945 days, because I already finished the mapping as per the latest situation, and there is a major, however, development that is off the battlefield, which is actually Putin has put out an announcement. So take a look at this.
Министерства иностранных дел, аппарата Совета Безопасности и других ведомств провели глубокий всесторонний анализ, оценили необходимость корректировки наших подходов к возможному использованию ядерных сил. По результатам этой работы предложено внести ряд уточнений в части определения условий применения ядерного оружия. Так, в проекте основ расширена категория государств и военных союзов, в отношении которых проводятся ядерные сдерживания. Дополнен перечень военных угроз, для нейтрализации которых выполняются мероприятия ядерного сдерживания. На что еще особо хотел бы обратить ваше внимание. В обновленной редакции документа агрессию против России со стороны любого неядерного государства, но с участием или при поддержке ядерного государства предлагается рассматривать как их совместное нападение на Российскую Федерацию. Также четко фиксируются условия перехода России к применению ядерного оружия. Будем рассматривать такую возможность уже при получении достоверной информации о массированном старте средств воздушно-космического нападения и пересечении ими нашей государственной границы. Имею в виду самолеты стратегической или тактической авиации, крылатые ракеты, беспилотники, гиперзвуковые и другие летательные аппараты. Оставляем за собой право применить ядерное оружие в случае агрессии против России и Белоруссии, как участника союзного государства. С белорусской стороной, с президентом Беларуси все эти вопросы согласованы. В том числе, если противник, используя обычное оружие, создает критическую угрозу нашему суверенитету. В завершение отмечу, что все уточнения являются глубоко выверенными и соразмерными современным военным угрозам и рискам в отношении Российской Федерации.
So I'm not sure if you caught what exactly was being mentioned by Putin. So the key point is that they are updating the nuclear deterrence policy. They will now expand the legitimate prerequisite for the Russians to use nuclear weapon in defense by adding that if a non-nuclear power launch an attack with the support of a nuclear power, that can also be classified as a threat that warrants the Russian state to use nuclear defense or use nuclear deterrence or do a counter strike with nuclear weapons. So and this is, they say that is to update according to the modern warfare situation where now attack can be launched with a non-nuclear conventional weapon, which is now becoming a total new development, and it could be mass drone strike, mass missile strikes, hypersonic weaponry and whatnot. So that was the whole gist of the situation, and he also made a reiteration that an attack on Belarus is an attack on Russia. So and they will reserve the right to use nuclear weapon in the event of aggression against Belarus as well. So this is a clear reaction to the Ukrainians acquiring of the approval to use some kind of Western long-range missiles against the Russian state. And this time around, this is the clear escalation of rhetoric from the Russian side that if the Ukrainians going to start to launch such strikes, mass strikes into Russia, then Russia will now react or at least have the rights to react in nuclear weapons. And he did mention at the very end of the statement that it's all confirmed now. This is all clarified. They know what they're doing right now. And this is a very huge concern because now we are reaching a totally new level of threat. Because Ukraine has been launching mass strikes, especially mass drone strikes into Russia, and with varying level of success. And so the latest was this mass destruction. I think in the region, where a massive ammo depot got struck. The amount of destruction is no debated. No, the pro-Ukrainian side say it's a mass, like huge level of destruction. Maybe 80% of it was destroyed. If you ask the pro-Russian side, they're talking about only like not more than 20% of it was destroyed. So, but ultimately it is a massive threat. And now, to the Russians, at least, to the Russians, that they had enough, and they are now threatening to use nuclear weapon in retaliation. And it doesn't matter if you are no longer a nuclear power that launches such an attack, which referring to Ukraine largely. And as long as you're supported by a nuclear power, and easily any supporter of Ukraine is a nuclear power almost, like UK, France, United States are all nuclear powers. So this is now becoming a totally new level of tension. And I feel like, we are getting closer and closer to a nuclear war as a result, because Ukraine is now in a desperate strait. They are trying to do whatever they can to escalate the war, so that the NATO forces will come and rescue them, or at least join the war, so that there is a more even fight. But to the Russians is that they will never play this game. If the NATO troops or NATO going to enter the war, it's nuclear war. It's going to be World War III jump straight to nuclear war or World War III. And this is now the game of chicken. And will the United States or the European dare to call the bluff of Putin again? Because first they called the bluff on Putin whether he will invade or not, and then that already caused a massive problem for the rest of the world right now because of this Ukraine war. Now are they going to call Putin's bluff again? Yeah, I hope not, because I got a strong feeling that the Russians are going to make Ukraine an example to the rest of the world, especially to the West. And there is a high chance that they will strike somewhere, in the west of Ukraine. If they were to use the nuclear strike, they will strike somewhere where it's firmly pro-Ukraine, rather than in the central or eastern part of Ukraine, where most of the battle is. They probably strike the rear position, and make a statement. And I'm not sure, how stupid will the West be? Will NATO be? Will the Americans be? The Europeans be? I'm not sure. So, the level of stupidity we have seen, since the trigger to the start of the war all the way to today. You and I all have seen it. We are here all reasonable, logical people here. If you're watching DPA, you are a logical person, reasonable person. You probably know what I'm talking about. And so now this game of chicken is getting a bit more scary. And let's hope they will never get there. Let's hope that we'll never see a nuclear weapon being used at all. But the threat is now getting very high because the Russians are changing the deterrence policy. They are no longer going to strike back only if there is a nuclear weapon uses against them. This time around, they don't mind being the first to use it. That's the main change. And that is a scary, scary change. So over in the battlefield, there is of course a few developments. This is the latest mapping. I don't think there is much to really talk about in the latest mapping for now at this moment. So if we look at the yesterday's mapping, there is some major developments. Particularly, of course, the focus is now on Voleda, and Russian forces have entered from the east, and they have also fully retaken the rest of Pavlivka in the south of Voleda, and they are now going to put pressure and surround Voleda. And the Russians, of course, already is moving in the pincer around Voleda. And based on the latest information from pro-Russian sources, the claim is that the Ukrainians are now operationally encircled at Voleda. Attempts by the Ukrainians to reinforce and to drive to Voleda is now getting stopped, including a tank that failed to break through into Voleda. So there's a high chance that the Russians have already progressed further from the previous understood point, and the front line may just be merely 2 to 3 kilometers wide. And Voleda might actually be operationally encircled. This is the latest development that we are probably looking at right now. And so let's continue to watch the current situation. This is very depressing for the for the Ukrainian side. So let's wait and see how this develop. And of course, another big part was the update over in the north of Preshestivka, with the Russian forces fully securing the northern flank of Preshestivka. This set up the stage for the Russians to attack Novoyukrenka, which set up the bigger pincer towards Bohoyevlenka. And this coupled with another development is over in the Katerinivka. So in the latest mapping by the Ukrainian side, Russian forces have taken more grounds in the south of Katerinivka, and they are now on striking distance to Katerinivka. And this will allow the Russians to break through the current conundrum over in Konstantinivka, where the Ukrainians are holding a very firm line, where the Russians are unable to break through. So and the Russians are now continuing their move towards Bohoyevlenka, and this is where the outer pincer is coming in this direction. So we have the inner pincer, and this is the current development around here. And so moving on, other part was finally and some updates regarding the Nevelsky situation, where the Russian forces finally is being mapped to have taken more grounds around the Nevelsky salient as they move towards this line along Zelany Druhi to Zoryany. And the latest information have seen that there is fighting now being reported at Zoryany, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. This is unclear if it's just shelling, or is this that the Russians have already advanced further and now they are now attacking directly towards or in the area of Zoryany. I feel like the latter might be true, that the Russians have now advanced close enough that there is fighting now close to Zoryany. So this is the current development, with the Russians, of course, are attacking Kharkiv as usual. So this development is pretty concerning. So we will continue to monitor the current situation over in this sector, as fighting is now already arriving at Kurakivka, Kharkiv. So this is a pincer, and then now you have the attack coming from towards Zoryany, attack from Zelany Druhi. The entire situation here is just shit. It's just all a mess, and I have no idea how the Ukrainians are going to defend this. And they are getting attacked from all directions, nearly all directions, except the only direction, which is the retreat direction. So if this continue to unfold, the progress in this pace, the Ukrainians are going to get squeezed out from the Kharkiv region in no time. So, and there is also development in the south of Selidove, with the Russian forces now poised to attack from the south, and Russians also captured Ukraine's, and this will allow them to start to attack Sukhirine from 2 different directions as well. So a lot of pincer developing all over the place here and there, and this is getting really a big mess. The Russians, however, is not making good progress around the Khodivka region. The Ukrainians are putting up a very good fight around this area. However, based on latest information, the Russians are now attacking Lysivka. So this is based on the latest information. So the Russians are moving on, and the attack towards Lysivka is something that I've shared before, where they attack towards Lysivka and go up north towards Pokrov. So that is something that we have discussed before. There's not much serious updates around the Thorax and New York region. Some other big updates. Let me see what else. Some other big updates is, of course, the Nevsky, where the Russian forces have further secured the south central part of Nevsky, and so this is continuing. Something else more. Say something else. Let me see where else. Okay, so Vovchansk is one of the big interesting situation that has developed for the on the Ukrainian positive side. So the Ukrainians have retaken much of this central part of Vovchansk after the declared recapture of the aggregate plant. Based on the bombardment video, I can assess that the Ukrainians have at least captured all of this area here. Further up north is a bit more unclear because it's a bit too up north, but this entire area here has been retaken by the Ukrainian forces, but the entire city is now flattened. And so, which means that there is possibly limited places that they can hide. The buildings are not intact at all, it's totally destroyed. There might be bunkers, there might be underground the places, but whether they can reach it, they can hide in it, whether they can resupply, of course that's another story altogether. And clashes is now being reported as well, with the Russian forces now also attacking in the Vovchansk region. So the entire Kharkiv region is starting to burn up together. The latest information suggests that the Ukrainians are attacking in Stadisia as well. So they are attacking at Vovchansk as well as Kharkiv as well. So the Russians are fighting back at Lipsy, Kharkiv, Vovchansk, and Taikei. So the Kharkiv front is now starting to burn up as well, and very interesting that this front line is starting to becoming more active as the Kursk front is getting more and more static. And lastly, before we go, the situation within the Kursk front remains largely the same. There is not much change. The Russians are still trying to push Darino, Nikolaevo, Darino, and what's this place called? Lyubimovka. And the Ukrainians are counterattacking at Lyubimovka. The Ukrainians are still trying to push the Novi Put region, but the Russians are pushing back in Obukovka, Novi Put, Medzeve. And the Russians are also doing a major offensive towards Blakovo. But otherwise, the situation remains pretty rigid. Not much is changing. And there is a possibility that the Ukrainians may actually start to try to form up a big force around here, because there is a lot of shelling report based on the 24th of September, the latest SITREP. Huge Ukrainian regions getting shelled by Russian forces, which might suggest that there might be a Ukrainian force that is ready to push out north of the river, as I mentioned during the situation report, which is published on the DPA War channel. So anyway, this is just the conclusions of the general situation of the ground, including the change in nuclear policy by the Russians. Very concerning developments. Anyway, press the like button, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment. Join the TPA Telegram, join the TPA Twitter, and I'll see you guys in the next update.